and welcome to Surface Guys Aviation Podcast number 3, where we talk about anything that's related to aviation. The idea is we invite guests on board, and hopefully you can find this entertaining or somewhat inspiring. Today we have a good friend of mine, Callum. We work together, we surf together, and as of recently, we now fly together. So Callum has been wanting to fly an aeroplane for about 12 years now, and as of recently, he took the plunge. He also faces many issues as others do, such as the financial burden. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. We're going to ask Callum a couple of questions, and hopefully you can be inspired if you would like to participate in a PPL, which is also known as a private pilot's license. Without further ado, it's actually good to actually get you on the podcast and be in the third one.
Yeah, it's great to be on here. Yeah, thank you.
So you wanted to become a pilot for a long time, and that's something I didn't know for a little while, even though we were working together. So long have you wanted to do this?
Probably for about 12, 13 years now, since I was about 14 years old, yeah.
So 14 years old, you took an interest into becoming a pilot. And I think at the time you told me you wanted to become an airline pilot. Is that right?
I did, yeah. A big interest in big airliners and big planes, and my cousin of mine had flight sim, so I had a knock at that. It looked really interesting, looked really cool, and yeah.
Did you have a flight sim back then?
I did. I had flight sim 2002, I think it was. We're going back 20 years now. Yeah.
And I'm only going to assume it was a basic setup, nothing like the one you got in the back there.
Nothing like what I got here. No, I literally had a 30-pound Logic 3 joystick that had like a little grey throttle on it. Yeah, on a piece. On a laptop. So not even a PC, just on a laptop.
So was you flying jets then?
I was trying to.
Yeah.
There's not much you could do with it with a joystick. But yeah, I was flying. At the time, I had the 737 at the time. Yeah.
Nice. So, how old are you now? You're 27. So how? Well, tell us what you've done between that time.
So about hours and hours into the sim back years ago. I didn't really have any of the. These days there's so much information on there what to do, but I didn't have any of that back then. So I was trying to figure it all out myself, and didn't have anybody else who knew anything about it, had any interest in it. So kind of like floundered away. Didn't get too far with it, but the interest stayed there. Looked at doing it as a potentially as a career. So started asking school advisors and teachers and stuff how to go about it. And ultimately, I was told that to be a pilot, you had to be ridiculously good at maths, and I happen to be ridiculously bad at maths. I was told I was going to have to go and do A levels in maths. I could have to really switch on. I thought that's just something that I'm probably not going to be any good at. I wasn't any good at, and it kind of almost killed the dream for me a bit then. So it just kind of went in the back shelf for the last, what was it, 13 years, 14 years now, yeah.
Well, that's disappointing to hear that, the teachers in school at the time told you essentially you wasn't going to be good enough to do it. I find that quite disappointing. And for what it's worth, I'm also terrible at maths. And speaking with Sean, who was on the first podcast, he actually said you can use a calculator in the exams. You just got to know your way through it methodically,
Yeah.
And he said you can actually have a calculator there with you in the exam. So I am 99.9% sure that's the case, and I will double check with him just in case. But like I said, speaking with him, because I had this very question, the doubt about the maths and the science side of it. But I don't think that's, of course you have to learn the stuff and know it well to pass, but I don't think you have to be a mathematical genius in school, to go and do this. And to be honest, it wasn't something, I find that you're also good at the stuff you're interested in. And how many people do you know that are really interested in maths? You could probably count them on the right hand.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So later in life, when something comes up like this, then you know the importance of it. Then you become good at it because it's detrimental to what your goals are and how what you want to achieve. So I think that's the case. So fast forward now, you met me, we work together, obviously we surf together and we do a lot of things together as
Oh, yeah,
mates.
yeah.
What made you, obviously you've flown with me recently, but prior to all that, what made you actually take the plunge and have your first flying lesson towards your private pilot's license?
Well, hearing about you flying, hearing all your flying stories, and I know that there's a community out there. Learning there's actually a community out there, and how there are actually small flight clubs, and that it's a possibility to do it. That definitely got me thinking. Because in my mind, it was only a case of flying small planes was something that you had to be really rich to do. You just owned it. Otherwise, you went to an airline school. This is how little information I had back then and knew back then, up until now. You had to go to an airline school and have all these degrees behind you already before you could even be considered. So knowing that, yeah, it's an accessible thing, that flying is an accessible thing. There are people who around you that are doing it, that piqued my interest. And then seeing your other channel that you've got, seeing those vlogs that you had, again, just started like stoking the fire a little bit, and then I thought I have to give it a go. It's something that I always wanted to do. I'd be kicking myself if I just didn't go in and have a go at doing it.
Yeah, damn right.
And I thought and if it turns out it's something that I didn't want to do, if I didn't fancy it, or there's gonna, then that's fine. At least I could have said I've tried it. But you were there that day when I landed, and I'd like smiled from here to here, didn't I?
I've also got a picture of you contemplating life prior to going up because you're so nervous. So I'm going to put the.
In fact, I was nervous, but actually, the instructor said, a wise guy as we know, he said, what you're feeling, you might think is nervous, but what nervous and excitement are is there's actually the same emotions. If you think you're as nervous, you're going to feel nervous, but if you feel excited about it, or think you're excited about it, you're going to be excited about it. So that was a good mindset. That was like, okay, that's a good way of putting it. And yeah, that was it. That just switched the mentality. So again, it comes back to the people that you meet along the way, and these little niblets of information.
Yeah, Chris, in fairness, has a fountain of knowledge when it comes to the psychological and emotional side of flying, I find, and he's helped me as well get my confidence back. And you think you bring up these topics with him, and you feel that they might be a bit silly, but then when he responds with experience and understanding, it's great to have from your flight instructor.
Yeah. Really reassuring as well.
So you took a discovery flight with Cambrian Flying Club down in Swansea, South Wales.
Yep.
And what I'd like to know, and I suppose what everybody would like to know, is what was it like? I want to know pretty much every little emotion and physical feeling you had when you was actually flying. I know you're a chilled out guy, pretty laid back, and some days you're a man of few words. And it seemed that you did take a lot of it in your stride, but I can only imagine that it was a big day.
It was a big day. It was it tops, but the days that you have in your life that you kind of remember, it's probably going to be up there for a long time. In terms of emotions, it went from the nervousness to excitement, and then when you're up there, when you take off, and then you can see in the background here the pictures like it's over Rosilli. This is the discovery flight actually that I had.
Oh, that's the actual. That's the flight.
This is one of the pictures I took off. So yeah, I took off of the flight, that discovery flight.
That's amazing, man. Look at that view. Like, it's just insane.
So you got the wing there flying over Rosilli Bay. So somewhere like that we've surfed, and then flying over it, you see it from 2,500-3,000 feet up to the edge. Like, it's disbelief. It's disbelief that you're doing it. Those whirlwind emotions, they're hard to grasp because also not really lucky that you get to go and do that. That you're up there doing that, and it defies everything that I've ever thought of before. That okay, this is something that I can do now.
It defies what the teachers told you in school.
Exactly. Yeah. This could be a possibility. And as I landed, it's like I've got to do this now. I've got to have a go doing this.
So just for a bit of clarity then, and I've spoke to you about this off camera, for the people who are listening, ultimately, you've asked me about, the benefits of getting a PPL and can you make it out as a career and stuff. And I've spoke to you about the difference. And you sort of asked me, like, is it worth getting a PPL, if I'm not going to make a career of it and stuff. And obviously now, just to let everybody know, it's the private pilot's license essentially you were going for. Then whatever happens after that happens. So this podcast is aimed at people who are just like yourself, want to become a pilot and see hurdles that don't actually exist. Of course, apart from the financial burden, but we could talk about that in a minute because I've got some opinions and some experience on that. Now all of a sudden you're in the cockpit and it's a reality. Did it feel, and was it like anything you thought it was going to be like?
Better, just a ton better than what I thought it was going to be like. As I said, it's disbelief that you're nervous going up. You don't know what to really expect. Obviously, most people are flown on on a boat, whatever. Everything's been an easy jet and flown over to Spain, what have you. That experience is completely different to being in the cockpit of, in this case, a Piper Tomahawk. It's completely different.
Yeah, sitting in the back of an aeroplane. Even if you was in the front of a Boeing 737, being in a two-seater airplane, bimbling about the sky, is completely different. To that, even it's just it's cool. You feel a bit vulnerable. It's amazing views. Yeah, if you haven't experienced being up the front, you can go on holidays and planes like that, but this is just a different world completely. But so how many hours are you now?
2 at the moment. If this load clears up, this cold clears up, I've got another flight booked in this week, and hopefully one for next week as well. So hopefully by the time this podcast goes out, I should be on 4. I know it's only 4, but I've been up with yourself as well on a few short cross countries too.
Amazing.
So slowly building those hours.
Talking about slowly building those hours, and I hope we can just capture my Christmas jump over there because I'm in the festive spirit and trying to keep the heating bills down. That's why I got this woolly hat on as well. But talking about slowly building those hours, I know you've expressed to me that, like, I can see, because I've experienced this, how much flying is now in your veins. And since you've taken that first flight, I can see your mind has been blown and it's all you think about. It's all you watch on YouTube. And it is, I laugh and I giggle to myself sometimes because I all the things you watch on YouTube is stuff I've watched years ago. And it's like you go through the same journey. And it's an amazing experience because once you take that first flight, you realize, okay, well, I'm going to be doing this now when this is my life. It's in me. And then, flying doesn't stop when you land the plane. You go home, you feel like a pilot, you go on YouTube, watch anything to do with flying, and you become engrossed with it. But I know you've expressed to me that your progress, you feel the frustration of it's expensive. The cost of living has gone up in the UK, and the frustrations of what my progress might actually be like. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes. So, like you said, it is financially difficult. That is the only reason, really, why I'm only chosen so far. It's one of the biggest hurdles that I'm trying to overcome. So, but I'm trying to live and breathe aviation as well, so that you still feel you're still
You
part
still
of
feel
it.
connected to
Exactly.
it.
Yeah. So what is a need? The need to fly is 100% there. And it's just trying to figure out how to make that work then. So budgeting, obviously, and just going, right, a couple of quid here, a couple of quid there, right, there's a lesson there, and then
Well, that's good, because that hopefully inspires people who are listening and who would like to do something like this and see, well, how am I supposed to finance it? And you think to yourself, maybe they have a mortgage, kids, family, and all that kind of stuff. And so hopefully it'll inspire them just to make a start, maybe.
you've got to make a start. When you make a start, I think the rest will slowly unfold, and you've got to chip away at it, I guess. You can't just go, you're very fortunate, you've been in a very lucky situation where you could just go, right, okay, I'm just going to go up and get my 30, 40, 50 hours done. It's not many people are in that situation. So you have to chip away at it. And obviously, if it's something that you do want bad enough, you find a way to make it work.
So I've come, sorry, go on, interrupt you. Go on.
No, yeah, go on.
Well, I'll just say I've come full circle. So I was one of those people who started, and I basically financed the whole thing because my circumstances at the time allowed me to do so. But I've come full circle since then and find that I can only fly almost as much as you now. The difference being I've already got my PPL.
Yeah.
But I do feel the frustrations of I can only fly. I have to now plan ahead my finances and look at it and maybe fly an hour, maybe once a month, or so I'm also feeling that burden a little bit, and there are many reasons for that. With aircraft ownership, I got I say the word stung, or it didn't work out for me financially, but that's another podcast that we can go into. So by comparison, there's a friend of mine. For example, I flew with him on a cross country when I was a student, and that's the thing, you get to meet people. And we went on a full day cross country, and the experience was amazing. We got up in the morning, got in the plane. He was piloting command, of course. We flew above the clouds, and then it was perfect cavalcade all the way to the destination. We went through a military zone. Great day. We had lunch. It was down in Sleep. It was called Sleep. It's a really popular airfield in the UK, and it was a maintenance ferry flight. So that only cost me about £100, and of course it's a lot of money. But if you consider an hour's flight is almost double that, we were out all day, and I was learning from this guy, right? This friend of mine, Roger, his name is. When he first started, he would have a lesson every 6 months. And back then, there were no flight simulators to this degree that we have now. The resources online were limited. Everything would have been old school. Navigation would have been via, the old methods of doing it, dead reckoning, and for theories, it would have been books. The resources that I feel you have now, and others could have as well, actually, you might be flying less, but the resources you have, like the flight simulator you got there now, so that's going to be the latest Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, yeah?
It is, yeah. Big upgrade on that simulator I had first time around, yeah.
So I've got the same flight simulator, and as a qualified pilot, you probably can't see it yet, but from my opinion, as a qualified pilot, I can see the resource tool, is almost priceless, because you can fly online with air traffic control, do real world procedures. I can link my Sky Demon, which I use for real world flying. I can do a whole flight on it to get my confidence up, sorry, and then the next day go and actually do the flight, and everything looks very similar because the graphics are absolutely amazing. So do you feel that having that resource behind you there can sort of help with the lack of progress then, for a better word?
Yes, massively. Yeah. yeah, like you see them with throttle controls, and then kind of got the rudders as well. As in terms of obviously it's not a real cockpit, but in terms of having the feel of yoke in the hands and yeah, going and practicing some of these routes that you do on your through your PPL and stuff like that, or practicing your navigation or even some maneuvers. It is a massive tool, I think. Yeah, and it's something that I've done already. Those couple of lessons I've done, and the times that we've done cross country, I've come back and done the same routes and practiced them, and haven't flown quite as well as what you fly it, but but still had a go with it. And yeah, it is a massive tool. It's a massive benefit for anybody who wants to go and do it, I think.
Yeah, amazing. So I guess the point we're trying to make here is that, even making a start, taking that plunge, there are ways to help you along, even if it's slow, even if it's a slow progress. Like I said, my buddy's a qualified pilot now with just shy of 300 hours or whatever it is, and he had a lesson every 6 months when he started back years ago. And you can imagine the frustration and the issue being the progress, because you also got to pick up where you left off, and 6 months later you could all be forgotten.
Yeah.
But in your case, I think what is your goal for next summer, 2023?
So I've set myself a goal for next summer to be flying solo. So hopefully at least have gotten to a point where I am lining up or planning my first solo flight by midsummer next year. That's my goal.
So here's the thing. When you started out, you want to be an airline pilot, but now we take it step by step, and we get, we take it in stages.
Absolutely,
so that the pressure is not on your shoulders. And at the end of the day, if you don't become an airline pilot, right, you are still a pilot who loves aviation, gets the opportunity to fly a plane when he wants to, so to speak.
When the funds allow, yeah.
when the funds, when you've got a couple of wedding gigs under your belt.
That's it, yeah.
So for anybody who was listening and wants to know what we do for a living, Callum and I are musicians. I also run entertainment company, and Callum's had an input on that with me as well. So the hospitality section has been interesting over the last couple of years because of COVID. We're hoping the next year will be a busy year and pays for a lot of flying time. Me and Callum got some ideas where we want to fly and record real world flights and do some sort of mini documentaries, and hopefully you could see another side of this channel, which is not just podcasts. But let's see where we are in the question list. What would you advise somebody in your position, or maybe in your position prior to you taking the plunge and thinking about it? And
so I think everybody's kind of touched upon it, didn't we, when we said, well, taking the plunge in itself is summarizes it, summarizes it perfectly. But you don't know how bad you're going to want it, or how bad you're going to try and make it work until you've actually gone and done it and tried it. And I might even something that you don't want to do, in which case it's not even worth thinking about any further. But I think if you do it, you're going to want to do it. Just going to create that drive in you, and then that you're going to want to go and press ahead and do it. Like I said, you've got a friend Roger who had a lesson every 6 months. It took him however long to finally get his PPL, but he's out flying regularly. But he chipped away at it, and I'm very new at doing it. But like I said earlier, like you just got to find a way to chip away at doing it. Yeah,
and I'm happy for you, man, because I know what you're going through as well emotionally, and I think I did have a few people who I could call like Roger, and but I didn't have a real close friend like yourself, where we hang out most weeks and most days anyway, and who is also a pilot. So well, I did when I passed. I met a lot of people and flew with a lot of people and became friends with a lot of people. But early on when I was training, it was all on me, on my shoulders, and I just went down the airport and signed up. No one in my family's a pilot, and my great granddad or something. You know, he didn't fly in the war. It was nothing. You know, it was nothing like that. I just decided one day to go and have. You know, I thought it'd be something awesome to do. And like you say, when I took off, I was like, oh, damn. This is it.
Yeah.
This is it
Goodbye,
now.
goodbye to your money forever, innit? Goodbye to your
Yeah,
money.
this is it. I'm definitely staying, living with my mother for the next 15 months. But yeah, I think,
like you said there for a second, the other thing I probably suggested is find a flying club near yourself. Find a club near you. So we're lucky we got Swansea, and it's a great club. There's a lot of great people up there. You can meet people there. You can talk to people there. You can talk to instructors. You can talk to club owners, or maybe someone who might have been playing up there. And you get to know these people, and you might be able to get into a flight with them. So obviously, like I said, I'm lucky that we've flown together, but you might be able to find somebody up there who might take you on a cross country or something with them, or just share information with you, so you don't feel that you're kind of isolated in what you're doing. So you can go and find this extra information out. Well, it's just being
that's good
present
advice.
in the club,
Solid
isn't it?
advice. Solid advice, man. Yeah, I mean, there are people who do fly alone and like to share the flying anyway. Just generally don't have anybody to take with them.
Of course, yeah.
You know, it's a case of you don't know until you try.
That's definitely, exactly. Yeah. I don't let fear either like ruin your
fear and doubt.
you drive or the want to do it. Like you said before, like after sort of putting off for a bit, it's like fear is essentially life's biggest killer. You know, you can't let it hold you back. You just got to go ahead and do it.
That's something we spoke about.
Yeah.
And that was me getting current again and having the confidence back in the cockpit. And that's, you know what, something I could talk about in a separate podcast, because I think there are pilots out there who would have gone through what I've been through recently. And it's funny, everything just comes full circle, and I'm the other way now, where I look forward to enjoying the moment and flying, and I'm much more relaxed about it. And I think that all boils down to, you know, fear is the biggest killer of life. And it's, don't get me wrong, it's easier said than done. It takes a lot of guts to change a circumstance, you know, to favor another. It really does, I think, in life. And it's not just in flying or aviation, or if you've got a career change or anything like that. But we've spoken about this in depth, and we've gone and sort of made it happen in stages, really, haven't we? And you know, you've helped me by flying with me, and I felt confident. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to the day you become solo, and the other thing is, I think that you will be back on here, no doubt, very soon. We'll sort of update everybody on the stages of your flying. I'll probably come down and do a bit of filming. I'll come down and do a bit of filming for you. And I just know, for going solo, what it did for me is it taught me a lot about myself, and made me as a confidence person, because I thought, well, if I can do that, I can take the same process and the whole emotional roller coaster I went on, and apply it in different walks of life as well. So I'm looking forward to the day that you come out of that plane and I'm standing there, and you got to cut your t-shirt up and have a photo with all the, you know, the plane, and I know, you know, there is a saying, there's no better feeling than your first solo, and you'll remember it for the rest of your life.
Yeah, imagine, yeah.
But I think that was a great chat, mate. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on here. Yeah. Can't wait
So
to go viral.
we'll update you with Callum's progress along the way. So if you enjoyed this, please leave a like and a comment, because it really helps, and share it if you can, if you feel this helps other people or yourself. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you soon.